Yeah, they're dead. They're all messed up.
You wouldn't give her that flower, would you?
No. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Renfield, he's the Van Helsing style guy.
No, Renfield's like Dracula, Dead and Loving It. He's like his sidekick, his helper. He's always eating bugs and stuff.
We need a
they
ghoul.
sword bind that character in the first one with Knock, the Hutter's boss. They sort of
Yes.
combined Renfield into that character.
Right?
He does a lot.
Oh,
He
I
does a
did
lot
not
of
know
like
that.
Renfield stuff during the original. I'm guessing they didn't
Okay.
put Renfield in because they were stealing so much.
Fair.
Is in the
Yeah,
he's in
and
the
he's
remake, so
he's in
he's probably putting up with
he's
the
in the
Renfield character.
Werner Herzog one too, but much less significantly.
I feel like you need a good Renfield in order to make it go whole. Even like in the book, when you read Bram Stoker's book, it's like Renfield's a key piece into
Yeah.
it, you know? Like the diary entries, it's like, you know, Renfield just ate a bug. And it's like, oh, all right. He is losing his damn mind slowly
Yeah,
but surely.
well, Nosferatu or
Chewing on the cuticle.
Nosferatu or whatever we're calling him needs that because he can't do it in the day. He needs his
Yeah.
guy.
Ghouls were just early forms of slavery.
Or late.
You just
That's
heard a
what
whole
it
bunch
is.
about it. And ghouls.
We were talking about, you know, if they ever had to set up a union or something, definitely Igor would be the head of it. Renfield would be like the cove captain. And that's how it'd
Are
go.
we unionizing ghouls? First Amazon, now ghouls?
You can even go with the Fallout going on, man. Like they're unionized in the show. Former actors there, Walter Goggins.
I have no
Nazi-
idea about a union
I
strike.
don't know how a union of ghouls would work. None of them have any independent thoughts. They'd all just wind up doing what
Yeah.
they're
They would have. I mean, have you seen Igor's hunchback?
I mean,
Come on now. It's always flipping side to side.
Renfield probably needs a dietitian to kick his bug habit.
So these are all nods to. So for those listening, this isn't a bit. I am an affable nitwit. I know very little about horror and horror history compared to these two gentlemen. So I'm going to be asking a lot of clarifying questions. So are these ghoulish characters from the original iteration? Entirely.
Well, Shrek version. He is sort of encompassed into a side character named Knock in and out of the movie briefly.
Kind of like he's like a mix. He's got like that hold to him, but he's also Thomas Holt's boss, Harker in the Dracula version.
Okay.
Who is so Hutter in the original is the Harker character, you know, and that's sort of another nod to we're stealing and trying not caught.
Got it. So that's a reference, listeners, to the fact that Nosferatu is a blatant ripoff of Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is hilarious to me for a lot of reasons. But I do notice there are subtle, imaginative, and original things in Nosferatu compared to Dracula. He's ugly as shit, for starters.
Oh,
He's literally a
Like-
rat with wings.
Yeah.
That's what he looks like, a rat coming out. But iconic image. I mean, it's definitely they took the look of it. And it from the
character
Salem's
Marlowe.
Lot. He's got the
Yeah.
fangs and stuff, and that's borrowed from Rex Count Orlok.
Oh yeah, big time. There's a few different ones too, and I guess they went that way because they wanted more of a monster, less of a Don Juan. Because Dracula, in a lot of ways, especially today, is like out of a telenovela with the greased back hair and everything. He comes in, Maria.
he's a
Stuff like
sexy
that.
beast.
I like Nosferatu's like way. Yeah, exactly.
It's
And
the
I mean that's the way it's supposed to be in a lot of ways, but Nosferatu does that in he has a love interest and it's a lot more rapey and gross.
Well, he's a plague. That's why he's so ugly. Like the long fingers. He's like trying to grab everyone into his grasp. And the thing is he's bringing death, and that's what like I think gravitates a lot of horror fans in this vampire realm, in this realm at least, is he brings death, while Dracula, it's a little there's a lot of romanticism in it, because it's like he falls in love with the women love him, he's got the wives, and it's like it grows where he's, like, populating vampires, and Orlok's just killing everyone off. He's like, to be honest, he's "Fuck this. This is it,
And he
man.
just goes after it.
Kill."
Yeah, Dracula wants more vampires and Orlok wants to watch the world burn.
I mean, that's actually a pretty cool distinction between the two. I like that a lot.
Yeah, that's what he is. He's a destroyer.
Okay, and then he just wakes up because Johnny Depp's daughter is lonely? Is that kind of the beginning premise? Like, it kicks off, she's like, "I'm so sad," and he just pops up.
I mean,
So, I believe they're connecting it with Jensen stuff with the new one, because it's like you see, like, he's, like, calling to her, and she's, like, got this attraction, and especially a whole scene where the tears of blood are falling down. It's just, like, it's glued to me because of the fact that it's in this. She's seeing whatever's appear. So there's, like, a to it, which, again, connected to the Dracula mythos, connected to the Nosferatu from 1979, Winsky. It's a nice jump. Plus Edgar's district, so he did not wanna fluff this
I
up.
don't either, based on the early reviews, it seems like a lot of it's funny because people who like Norsemen dig this and say that, like, it's not his best work, but it's really good. And then there's the people who, like, hate Norsemen, and they have, like, a rage boner against Lighthouse and
Yeah.
stuff like that. They are not fans of this. And I was like, "Well, of course not. You don't know what art is, you swine."
I will say the light, and that's got to come up on our
Okay.
podcast at some point, because Cold Skin is
It sounds like
it's one of the more bizarre movies you'll see.
it sounds like okay.
I feel like there's skinning
There-
involved.
I was gonna
Just
say,
based
it
on the
sounds like
Um,
something you'd see on Cinemax
It's close,
at 2:30
yeah.
in the morning.
You mean
It's close to
Skinemax, sir.
Cinemax, minus most of the news serve as the main
Oh.
character slash maybe interest.
So, all right. I'm getting some good stuff there. Okay, so I can see why Lighthouse
Yeah,
takes
yeah.
second place. Fog? The Fog?
No,
I was just saying, Lighthouse
I was
film,
gonna say.
The Fog is my go-to,
Oh,
John Carpenter. So that's why I was
okay.
like, Skin. The Fog does not compare to Skin.
Like,
Skin's got a good premise.
He's like, I don't know. He's real hit or miss when it comes to certain things and certain like tastes, but this thing looks solid. And from what I'm hearing, he took some liberties that may have panned out pretty well. I mean, people are already talking about award season contention. Skarsgård might get Best Supporting. Lily Rose Depp might get Amber Heard as her next stepmother. No, I'm just kidding. She might get an Academy Award for Best Leading Actress in a horror film. I don't think that's ever happened.
See,
So those are
that's amazing, because, like, a lot of people don't recognize that in that category, and to see it win an Academy Award, it's just showing how the film industry is changing overall, and they're seeing how much, like, overall different genres are art, and it's welcoming to
so
see
you'll
that on this account, especially
Shape
for
of
this.
One to really kick the door open
and
with
some
that.
people would argue Silence of the Lambs. I don't believe Silence of the Lambs is a horror movie, but you get people that do. So you got
He was
Jodie
in Red Dragon as the reporter. I can't think of his name right now. It's driving
Philip
me
Seymour
crazy.
Hoffman.
Thank you. All right, so I'm gonna roll now. So it's Christmas Eve, and we're wrapping presents, getting everything finished up and everything. And I threw on Red Dragon because that's like comfort food for me. So Kim looks up while she's putting together Charlie's present over there in the corner of the room. It's like this whole little kitchenette thing. It's like a mini apartment. It's probably nicer than most studios in New York City. And Philip Seymour going down the street with chair. She's like, it's Christmas. What are you doing? And I was like, I don't know. I
Yeah.
like it.
is a Christmas movie.
It's
So yeah, I can't
festive.
believe I forgot about Silence of the Lambs.
Big, but I don't consider it
I
horror,
can-
so it doesn't count.
Okay.
Thriller, that's what
thriller,
I
it was-
consider it. That's
Shape of
isn't that
Water
right?
isn't
Shape of
horror
Water is
either,
kind of like
to be
a
honest
horror
with you.
adjacent fantasy.
Yeah, exactly. You could have made I thought that Pan's Labyrinth should have made a bigger splash than it did, obviously. I'll beat this drum until I die. That one could probably be called horror. But even that's dark
Yes.
fantasy, horror adjacent
Fantasy
fantasy.
Yeah.
horror.
Yeah. Anyway, tangent over, back to the bald vampire guy.
Yes. So just to say, it's gonna be filmed in it was already filmed in Dolby Cinema and IMAX, but this is the cool part. It's filmed in select theaters in 30, which is really
Oh,
cool. That
sweet.
Uh-huh.
graininess, like, I don't know, I feel like to make it like The Lighthouse. I'll say this, I am a big fan of The Lighthouse. I love the Lovecraftian. Willem Dafoe is amazing. You see the pops in the film when you watch it. And if that's the same thing with not
Yeah, that was the weird thing about watching the 1922
Yeah.
one again on Blu-ray, how clean it looks, and it really shouldn't look that clean.
That's right, Max Schreck and his AI. Do you guys remember the salad fingers guy with the little
Yeah.
spoon fingers or whatever?
S yes. Was it salad fingers with the Sue spoons?
Yeah.
I like the
That was the fingers
there's
are the only thing in the costume that was better in Nosferatu the Vampire than in the original. They got the fingers right, but the head was too smooth. And the original
It's too smooth.
the original round, he's like all kind of messed up. And then Werner Herzog made it like almost like perfectly round, and it doesn't quite work for the character, but the hands and the fingers are better.
I was gonna say the Nosferatu, it's the 2023 one. It was directed by David Lee
Fingers
Fisher.
matter.
It's basically just a shot by shot remake. It's a shot that remake of the film, so it just looks it's not Orlok. It's like very modern, if I can say that,
Uh,
set with the
yeah.
1920s.
Hey,
Like, I don't know, I feel like Shrek, Kinski, um, Barter's had it down pat. I'm curious on how, Skarsgård will look, cause just Ice, he looked amazing as Pennywise. Being a big Tim Curry fan, like, he stole that show, and I know he's gonna
he crushed it as Pennywise. He heavily, heavily supported by CGI and stuff
Oh,
like that
yes.
to give our nod back to the late great Tim Curry.
Oh,
But
yeah. You killed Tim
Yes.
Curry.
oh Jesus, it
He's
was
not a sweet
Kearns
transfer.
in the office with the idiots. As a Clue reference, by the
FBI
way,
crack.
people.
I was like, "Will the FBI raid us now?" "Stop.
Maybe it would. Oh my god. So I didn't mean
Who
to
killed
kill Tim
Mr.
Curry.
Body? Damn it. You killed Mr. Body."
Damn. I didn't know he had a stroke though. That sucks. Anyway, back to fun stuff. So Skarsgård playing like all of the movie villains and stuff like that that's gonna be interesting to see what he ends up getting cast in next. Because if he crushes Orlok, he pretty much crushed. You know that there's a continuous casting. Meanwhile, his brother is being cast in movies where it's like, we need your pecs to be oiled up immediately, and you have to kill other Northmen.
Well, vampirism runs in the family 'cause, what do you call it? Skarsgård, his brother, was Eric Northman in True Blood, funny
He's
enough.
the lesser Skarsgård. He played Randall Flagg into the ground in the remake of The Stand, the TV show. Did the worst Flagg. He was
See,
so bad.
it disappoints 'cause it's like the Skarsgård, they're great actors. You always need one. It's like the Baldwin thing. There's
Yeah.
always one.
I'll say Bill's good. Yeah.
And the Howards, Clint Howard is far and away the superior Howard. Ron is like the lesser Howard.
I mean, I can't argue with that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do like Clint
The guy who
Howard.
raises his hand a lot in
Yeah.
class, gets
Ye
the teacher to like him. He's like, "I'll be a director."
especially right at the end of class when everyone just wants to leave and it's like, "Okay, does anybody have any questions before we dismiss?" And his hand goes up and you wanna kick him in the ass.
He's like, we forgot about the homework that we were supposed to hand in," and then, like, everybody's
Mm,
gonna kick his ass
yeah.
later. That's Ron Howard. Ron Howard is slowly transforming into Clint Howard by looks. I've
Yes.
noticed that. Like, his face, they look like that dinosaur with the hard head when I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
They smash heads together. Both of them look like that now.
But Clint's always looked like that. He still looks the same. Ron, as you're saying, Ron's involved, and especially in that Happy Day skit, he's just a taller version of him.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
scary. It's just scary. I was actually watching Clint Howard came up on my Instagram. It was from Silent Night, Deadly Night 4.
Mm.
I did not know he was in on it, and he just walks in on a couple. "Evie, here to watch a killer Santa Claus," and it's just like it's a horrible line, but
Silent
great.
Night, Dead or
And
Diminishing
that's what he
Returns.
does. God. So Bill
Yeah.
Skarsgård is the younger brother, I think, or he just feels that way?
No, he's the younger
Ooh.
brother.
Oh, he is the younger brother. I do think he's more talented. But him coming in with the Pennywise voice, that's what really sold Pennywise was the Skarsgård. Who's gonna do the Pennywise impression for everybody? Georgie?
I don't have it.
Like,
Can do
pulls
the
that out.
I'm Mark.
You're right,
Georgie.
trademark infringement? Now it just sounds like Yoda.
I'm just like the Tim Curry, like, "Georgie," you know? Like,
That's
I don't
good.
know, Tim Curry I got that Tim Curry down. The Bill
Yeah,
Skarsgård, he's got that high
Skarsgård. And now
pitch.
there's gonna be no lines in Nosferatu for Skarsgård. That doesn't necessarily make it an easy gig, right? But he's probably not gonna speak. I don't think they
Yeah.
Oh, well, of
Yeah.
course he did in the
I mean,
Herzog
and they're
one. I hope
It was
oh my damn it.
it's
I
like
hope
you
it was
should see
Those
Herzog's
two
voice.
together,
but his
oil
voice
and water, man. They made some great movies together. But I found this movie, but Kinski was the star again. They worked together like 5 times, and he's quit and quit. So finally, Werner Herzog threatened to shoot him 8 times.
8 it's the
If you
specificity.
quit, I'm gonna shoot you 8 times and then myself once. That's how
So
insane their relationship was.
That's amazing.
I'm gonna make you a cripple and then shoot myself. So,
The
can I
Werner
get revenge on
But
me?
like that's just like there's about how big a pain in the ass he was to work with on top of all his outside of movie scumbagness. He was, so
Oh,
he's
yeah?
making this movie.
He was a
Go ahead, man.
nightmare. I was gonna say
He,
Vampire in
he,
Venice. Vampire in Venice, he
he,
was a nightmare
so
on.
he was making a movie in '86 for a producer named Roberto Bessio, who wanted to fire him and was told by the movie company, "You can't fire Kinski. That's why we're making this movie because we want him." That's how awful he was to work with.
Oh, wow. I mean, I can sympathize.
Mhm. But like it's just
Uh,
like I kind of want that on my tombstone.
remember that,
In
just in
honor of
case.
in
But
honor of the characters he
if I
portrayed.
go first though, John, I'm stealing it, and there's not gonna be because you can't do anything about it at
Fair
that
enough.
point. Alright, so you guys have seen
Yeah.
both films, the original, the remake the remaster of the original counts as the original, and then the Max Shrek,
Mhm.
right? So I'm the only one who's actually seen footage.
In
I did a little bit. So for the people listening, I went with my wife and 2 boys to see Sonic 3, which is a riveting film. A riveting film. It
Jim
basically
Carrey's
rips off
return, come on.
spoiler alert, and it's a total rip-off of, like, all of the plot lines from Dragon Ball Z movies, specifically movies, not like of it, but my wife made me shut up about it. She's like,
Will you
"Stop
stop?
talking
This is a
about this
kids
topic."
movie.
So I went out well, I wasn't sitting next to her. This was
This was-
after the movie on the ride home. She's ready to
It's
kill me. So I
believe
leave the
this?
theater I leave the theater to go to the bathroom, quote, quote, and I walked right in. And I walked pivotal point in the movie. It's visually appealing to say the least. It's color, but it's black and white. They present everything so expertly well, and it puts such a bleak atmosphere together. And Willem Dafoe's character was on screen a bit there, standing like awkwardly in the corner, like not unlike Orlok, maybe. And
Just
yeah, just like, yes, for
yes.
research for the podcast. And he does it. He's like a man. When he's on screen, you just have to stare at him. The costume design, the way he speaks in the film, you're just on him the whole time.
I'm
It looked
presuming he
really good.
was he like Van Halen from what you saw? Because that's what the vibe I
Not
was getting
yeah,
with.
he's very science-y. So yeah, he's like the only one. You know how the trope is. He's like to be the only living human who knows about vampires. And he just goes into like how every little bit of lore you might know from these things, whatnot. But that's not really what I was seeing. This is mostly, but But that is the vibe his character was giving off for sure. Like the dude who doesn't deserve to live through the third act kind of thing because he knows too much. It'd be too boring. But yeah, I was like, I'm gonna make them jealous. I came to whipping out the phone, but then I was like, no, standards to upkeep.
See,
I won't
I
do it.
was wait I was waiting for you to be like, "Yeah, I found a seat, I sat there. There it was." I said, "Give me a minute. Watch the whole film."
I was gone for like 10 minutes and I was on a candy mission. And the thing that brought me to the idea was that it was our people in the concession line. And
Yeah.
then I came out and I was like, all right, okay. I see some gauges and ears and some odd piercings, and these are my Nosferatu. So I just walked in.
I like how you said, though, the aesthetic of the color and stuff because it feels like it's given that old school vibe, and Egger is, like, amazing with that. But to also as a side note too, just as a nod, you're mentioning Willem Dafoe and stuff. He was Max Schreck from the old well, technically old now, 20, 24 years ago, Shadow of the Vampire. He was Max Schreck. So it's a nice little loop around for him that he was Max Schreck
Interesting.
in the supposed biography film, which Shadow of the Vampire is the supposed biography film starring the great John Malkovich, Willem Dafoe, and Carrie Elwes for your Princess Bride fans. Nod right
Yeah,
there.
that's like my favorite movie, bro.
Uh,
Carrie
Jada was
Elwes is
wearing a
my
shirt
G.
today. He
Oh,
plays who
nice,
he
dude.
plays. Yeah, she had the shirt on. I was like, I forgot to get a picture. I was like,
That's a
"Where'd you get
damn
this?" She
fine
was
movie.
like, "Oh, it's a classic." But he plays who he plays. Fritz Arnold Wagner. That's who he plays, the cinematographer, and it's a little
Does he have a
feedback of
German accent? I feel like he'd play a
yes.
perfect. Yeah, of course he did. So, he's like the most
He's
Aryan looking guy, especially currently. He's just getting blonder and more blue-eyed every day. You
well,
can't cast him as a German.
he's the only
It's just
Robin Hood with a British
right?
accent. Come on.
It's insane.
Well, I'd
Carrie
say
Elwes.
you have Udo Kier in this film too, as well, by the way. If you're not familiar with Udo Kier, he's in a great movie called Blade. It's an action film. I don't know if you guys agree with that. I think that's
It's
an
not a
action
horror
film, but
movie.
plays one of the high
It's not a
vampires.
horror
What?
movie.
All
Blade
right, I
is
was gonna say I
100%
could
an action movie.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
okay. There
The
was talk
soundtrack
on
is
that
pure
too.
techno. It's pure techno. It has to be an action movie. It's like, I remember I used to run to the frigging blood rave scene music on, like, it would go into, like, Limp Bizkit's, Fred Durst crap. Like, oh my god, I remember that like it was yesterday. Blade. So who does he play in Blade? The beard.
Here he plays one of the high vampires
Oh, of
where
course.
Frost has some outside and the sun's coming up. He's like, "You're gonna feel the heat. It'll be your first time, and it'll be your last time." Just great writing. I mean, I got a heart special place in my heart for Blade on that
Career
one.
defining role. I like when Steven Dorff turns into a big pimple and pops at the end. That's fun.
Now the best one is the part with the UV light where the
Oh yeah.
vampire they can't move. He's like, "Frost, save me!" He's like, "You're on your own. Have fun," and just lights him
Blade
up.
was iconic, but yeah, John's right. I mean, there's so much stuff that flirts with horror that tries to cherry pick all the good out of horror, but appeal to other fans. And I have no problem with genre bending, especially in writing.
Yeah.
But with movies, it's hard to pull off.
Well, it's a thin line because there's always that talk on it, like what's vampire, what's not vampire. Like Nosferatu, right? It's a horror film, but then you look at Dracula. Dracula's definitely a horror film, but some people, like Francis Ford Coppola's one, consider romantic in its own line.
Yeah,
Always,
I think when you're
It's
putting an
tricky.
adjective in front of horror, like romantic horror, you're probably not horror anymore.
No, that's like the Fae has
Yeah.
kind of thing. Year-old centaur pushed her up against the tree, and all the
no,
housewives are like, it's
no.
fantasy. And it's porn. But Blade is an action movie. Nosferatu is definitely a horror movie. I can definitely stand by that, though, that it's gonna go a little light. It's gonna be like The Markers, almost gonna there's a lot of exposition in this based on the reviews, and I think there's not gonna be a lot of traditional
Well, I'll
scaries.
tell you the thing I'm having seen it is the runtime. The original Nosferatu,
Yeah.
2
yeah,
hours and
the
12
original
minutes.
Nosferatu is 95 minutes. Granted, there's no talking, there's
She's in a lot of the film, so that probably is the case. It's hers. She's gotta have an existential crisis, she's
Mhm,
gotta fall in love, fall out of love, she's gotta and all those things probably have to happen. She probably gotta get bit, right? Somebody's
Well,
gotta get bit.
the character of Ellen Hutter through all of the Nosferatu, she's the character is the key to the whole thing. She's the key to Nosferatu, not just in general for everything that's occurring. And I mean, her growth as the character is in it. I feel like it's gonna focus on that, but like Robert Eggers is very like cinematic. He loves like those big shots. Like thinking of the lighthouse, it was like a lot of still shots here, there, and developing slowly but surely. And I think that's what a lot of the screen time is
mhm.
dedicated to. There's there will be a lot of exposition, but then it's going to be like a wide shot of London or, and that pull in or the castle and just like scenes and stuff just to build up that horror along with the cinematic music in it. Cool style.
Yeah, but too long.
Could be. Like, yeah, great explanation, it's too long. Um, you're like, I understand
Yeah,
why it could be too
yeah,
long, but it's too long.
you have to be doing something really special to keep my attention over 2 hours. Yeah, that's why I haven't watched it because I know I'm not gonna get through it in one sitting, and I don't like watching movies in multiple sittings.
In 2 years, we're gonna have an epic with Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey in 2026, or technically 4. I mean, The Odyssey's gonna be 4 hours long. No one's gonna be, like, sitting in theaters for that. No one. And if they are, God bless them.
Maybe,
God.
which wouldn't be a bad idea.
And
Braveheart
that
wasn't Braveheart like 4 hours plus? It was 2 VHS tapes. Yeah.
um,
Wow. I don't wanna get into ageism here, but when did The Right Stuff come out?
83, 84-ish?
Ryan wasn't
80
born yet.
no.
Yeah,
No.
Ryan was not yet born, and
It's just
I was swaddled. I was
Uh-huh.
just out
Yeah, yeah.
of the oven. The Right
I was
Years,
sneaking
John,
into
wow.
bullshit other movies.
In Kisco?
Yep.
There's a local movie theater, and it's super easy to sneak walk in and
It
just open the back door. So, we're pumped about Nosferatu coming out. What's coming down the pipe that you guys are excited about?
Man.
so I'll rep the shirt. There are competing Return of the Living Dead movies coming.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
One one seems to
Oh,
be homage to the original, and the other one seems to be just somebody else trying to do it too. There's a
okay. No
path to
rules,
follow
baby.
anything.
And it's probably gonna be and all that, where it's like more we're saying Living Dead, Nosferatu, all that, and it's remaking or as well
Yeah.
as there was like Robert Englund. They asked him, "Can you do another Nightmare on Elm Street?" He goes, "If it's cartoon." So, like, there's a lot of possibility, and especially with AI and stuff. I
There's just
mean,
no new ideas. We don't need another Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, Longlegs came out, and I was pretty
you
excited
gonna let
about
him in?
that. It wasn't the greatest movie in the world, but you know
Let
what it
him
was?
in.
It was
Mhm.
new. It was new. I'm not
Just
letting him
with
in
that.
anywhere, dude. I was terrified when he was bouncing around in the yard. I didn't need the twist. I didn't need to know any of the other
Mhm.
crap that was going on.
And a lot was barbarian and just like going to Wisconsin and going to like a B&B, an Airbnb and seeing barbarian. Yeah, that
Yeah,
like
that's a good one
doors
too.
on
That's
that.
a good one. Not The Hills Have Eyes kind of vibe.
Mhm.
Like it felt vibey a little bit, but it was a pretty original idea. It's based on a true story. True account of a man who was living in the walls of a house and terrorizing the family, 2 daughters, and yeah, it was for a long time too. He was like behind the dryer. There was a way for him to get in, and he was planning on killing them. And he even revealed himself. Police like didn't believe him. They staked the house, but he was still in the house. It was nuts. It's a nutty story. I forget the probably need to give the fans something on that one. But it's a Mr. Ballin. We'll just throw one out there. Mr. Ballin has a review on it or something on the YouTube there. But what I'm excited about is, since we're talking about fast moving angry things, because we're not going to call them zombies, we're going to go over this in a future episode, but 28 years later, coming out soon. I'm actually excited about that. And only because I want to see how they decide to get this thing off that island. Is it going to be the angriest shipboat captain ever?
I feel like Cillian Murphy's got that vibe. He's got a cool
He's got a
vibe.
good bitch face.
I was like,
Resting bitch face, I should say.
oh my god, when he
You ever
puts his
see him look
hands
at
in
the
the
royal
pocket,
family?
it's great.
You would think an actor would hide it better. Yeah. He's an Irishman who's not happy about the
Shows.
treatment of Ireland.
He puts what's
All
that?
right, rapid fire question for you two. Skarsgård came down with a bad case of diabetes, and he couldn't be in the Nosferatu movie. Who would you cast instead?
Christopher Waltz. Christopher Waltz.
Phenomenal actor. He is the Dr. Schultz from Django Unchained with Jamie Foxx. He is also from, I was gonna say, Inglourious Bastards, man.
go.
That's
That'll
where I
do
get it from. Just like his
Yeah,
evilness from
he's
that.
the angry German who kills everybody at the beginning of Inglourious Bastards. I'm sure I'll throw a picture of him up on the screen for you guys, but nobody knows this guy's name. He's like one of the best living actors, probably, and
Smoking a pipe. That's like that big ass pipe from the
he's
beginning. And him
yeah.
with the makeup, just the pointy ears. Like, no, he's got the accent already.
Howard Thornton from Terrifier.
A Terrifier reference, of course. It couldn't be
I
an
know, I feel
episode without a
bad doing it,
Terrifier
but-
reference. That was a quick rundown of Nosferatu 2024 from three guys who haven't seen it yet, which is probably good for you guys because we can't spoil it. We'll probably reference it and what we thought about it in our next episode, or maybe one further down the line. Until then, we hope you guys enjoyed hearing us talk about how much we love all things horror. And don't forget to go out and watch Nosferatu 2024. Let us know what you think.
See ya.
Come to me.
I've never shared my secret with any soul.
You've had these spells since childhood. Tell me what you can from the beginning.
It is like a dream. It was our wedding. When we turned around, everyone was dead. The stench of their bodies was horrible. Standing before me was